Okay, what's up guys? So we got this dog here. About to get butterfly stencils on her. We got our airbrush. Nice airbrush. We got our air compressor that's like super quiet. Like you can't even hear this. Yeah. And we got butterfly stencil. Alright. So the stencil goes on the way I do it. It's gonna go on after the bath. So we're gonna give her a bath, get her nails ready. I'm gonna give her a bath and then come back and spray the stencil on. So here we go. So we got our airbrush. We are going to turn. So this thing's actually designed and made for grooming. You can barely hear it. It's an air compressor, and it just hooks up with this hose to the airbrush, and it's super quiet. You don't even know that it's on, so it doesn't scare the dog. So this thing's actually pretty cool. My boss bought it. And this airbrush is actually made for like makeup, or it could be for dog grooming too. It's really like, you could barely hear it. Okay, so we're gonna open up. We got our stencil here. I'm gonna peel it back. It kind of peels back like this. Peels back like that, and then it's sticky, so it actually kind of sticks to the dog. So it's hard to do this with one hand, but yeah, that's basically how these stencils work. And this is a short-haired dog. We're gonna put it right about here. We're gonna do 2 of them right about here. Something like that. So hopefully it goes good. Here we go. So here we are. We're putting the putting the stencil on the dog here. We're starting to spray a little bit. So what you got to do is you mix the hair dye in with water, basically. So it's the same brush on hair dye that I always use, and I just mix it with a little bit of water. So it's fairly inconsistent at times, but if you just dilute it a lot, but not too much, and we're just spraying it on right here. We got the first stencil on, and it's pretty self-explanatory. You just spray inside the stencil, peeling it off, and yeah, look at that happy Vel smile. So the owner wanted 2, so we're doing 2 as if they're kind of flying or whatever. So we're just gonna spray it again. So when you use an airbrush, you push down and pull back to let the more paint come out. When you push down, air and paint comes out. When you push back on it, more paint comes out. But with this airbrush, it just kind of like is a one steady stream. So I mean, here we are. We're just kind of painting it up, filling in the stencil and stuff like that. So you just want to make sure you get a good thick layer on. Don't spray too much at once because you don't want to bleed outside of the stencil. So you want to make sure the stencil is real flat, which is kind of hard because the dog's curved and has shapes and bones and stuff like that. So here I am adding the second layer on, and you want to put, if you do that, you want to put the stencil right back where you had it. Otherwise, it's gonna look blotchy and like a big nothing, a big blotchy nothing. So it's really tricky to not. You don't want any underspray under the stencil. You want to make sure wherever you're spraying, you're pushing down with your fingers, and you're just only spray. The stencil is always on the ground, on the dog. Basically, you don't want any under or overspray. And with me, I'm actually I've used an airbrush before. I actually airbrush in my personal time, my personal artwork. So if you're feeling like that, you can go back and touch it up because it does get a little blotchy. You can go and you can you know, touch up the edges and make them sharp again, which is pretty much what I'm doing right here. But as you'll see, the paint is so inconsistent. I don't think it's made to be in an airbrush, so I have to mix it. I'm diluting it some more so it's a little more watery so it can spray out the brush better. Sometimes it thickens up and it's not able to come through, so it's just kind of one of those things you have to deal with a little bit. And then here, when you're done with all that, I put the fluff dryer on it and just let it dry. So yeah. Okay, final thoughts on everything before I put it away. These stencils, I think, are really cool. I'm gonna resave that one. It comes in a few. You don't even really need to resave it. So I think their stencils are as good as they're gonna get. They're sticky. They're almost, you know, pretty. They stay on the dog fairly well. I can't imagine the stencils be any better than what they are. The airbrush, on the other hand, I feel like the airbrush is actually not that great. I have one at home, a better one, made for like real airbrushing, not for like a beauty one. This is called Beauty 4. It's for nails and stuff, or I don't know what it's for. But I feel like it's not that powerful, and the trigger system is pretty, you know, you're supposed to push down to make the air and pull back to make it thicker. I just feel like it's one steady stream. It doesn't really do much. So yeah, I feel like it's very inconsistent. And it could be the dye that I'm using. I'm not really sure. But the compressor is cool. Like, you turn it on, and you don't even hear it. That's really cool, because my air compressor sounds like a generator. So, but that can also be why the airbrush isn't working that great, because I don't know how powerful this thing really is. So that could be, you know, that could be, they can both be not that great, but I don't like the airbrush for sure. The compressor seems okay, but I gotta take all this stuff apart and put it away, and I got a doodle here. So yeah, who would know what a doodle? I got a doodle here after that. There's James. There you go. All right. Okay, that's gonna do it for the video. Okay, that's gonna do it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope that was fun. I had fun. Hope you learned a little something. And yeah, do all that stuff YouTubers tell you to do. Hit the bell and subscribe to Ding. And I'm out. Peace.